Now, what are my thoughts on TNA's debut on AMC? What are my thoughts on TNA's debut on AMC? The show sucked. The show absolutely sucked. There was nothing that this show did to make me want to purchase Genesis, which I ended up not watching. I know that's going to get a couple of people upset, but it's the truth. It did not get me to watch Genesis. The Leon Slater match did not happen on the show because of visa issues, and he ended up showing up on SmackDown, which ended up taking place in London, because I believe that is his, of course, the UK. He's from the UK. So Leon Slater was not on this show. Visa issues, it's a common thing, but visa issues were not the reason as to why this show was a letdown. The reason why this show on AMC was a letdown was because of the fact that, number one, the show was formatted poorly. Number two, the production of this show was just god-awful. I mean, it's crazy to think. I mean, think about this. The production of TNA in 2009 TNA, their production was 10 times better than TNA's production in 2026. Imagine, I mean, you would think that their production would advance. But if you watch this TNA show compared to a TNA show in 2009, I mean, you could easily see which show had the better production. You can literally put TNA's worst show of all time. Let's, off the top of my head, TNA Victory Road 2009, -5 stars. That show had better production than this show. This show, Victory Road 2009, had better production values than TNA's debut on AMC in 2026. From a production standpoint, this show was a freaking disaster. Disaster. You would think they would make a great first impression, but they didn't. It was basically your average Impact. That's what it was. It was your average Impact episode. That's what it was. It was your average TNA Impact episode. Nothing special, no surprises. You had a bunch of people speculating that Chris Jericho could possibly show up. You know damn well, TNA does not have the money that Chris Jericho wants. You know damn well TNA does not have the money to pay Chris Jericho, because they don't. Oh, but they're getting paid $10 million per year. Yeah, $10 million is pennies compared to the money that WWE and AEW are getting from their television contracts. $10 million is great, and it's huge for TNA. But it's nothing if you compare it to WWE or AEW. If you compare it to the big two, I mean, it's like apples and oranges. WWE is getting the most money out of all three promotions. AEW is, of course, it's a distant number two, but it's a number two that has money backed behind it. TNA is a distant number three. And we will talk about that as we continue. But the production values of this show was just absolutely horrendous. Everything about this was garbage. You had a moment on this show where they wanted to show you the Hollywood section, which is basically people, D-list, B-list, C-list celebrities that I have never heard of, and I mean this with the utmost respect. I've never heard of these people, touting their new AMC show. TNA did more to promote the network that they're on, because obviously they want to make the network happy, so I totally understand that, but they did more to promote AMC-related programming than they did their own pay-per-view. The whole purpose of weekly wrestling television is essentially an infomercial to get you, the consumer, to purchase the pay-per-view. TNA did nothing to make me want to buy Genesis. AEW kind of has the same problem. But I know what I'm going to get when it comes to an AEW pay-per-view 9 times out of 10. They may fumble a couple times there and there, but 9 times out of 10, they are masters at pay-per-view. TNA, on the other hand, knows how to crap the bed. TNA did nothing to promote Genesis. They ran down the card, but that was really about it. And think about this. They announced the main event for Genesis within the last couple of minutes after the main event ended, before they went off the air. I mean, your main event is essentially the big match that you want to promote so you can get people to buy the pay-per-view, but you basically announced a rematch, Frankie Kazarian versus Mike Santana, in a Texas death match with Nick Nemeth as the special guest referee. And I mean this with the utmost respect to Santana, because I think Santana is fantastic and one of the highlights, in my opinion, of TNA. But is that really what you're going to give Mike Santana? I mean, think about this. I think it would have been better if TNA had promoted Mike Santana as the champion. Like, you had him win at Bound for Glory, and then you had him drop the title. You had him drop the title to Frankie Kazarian. And I mean this with the utmost respect, and I love Frankie Kazarian. I'm a big fan of Frankie Kazarian. But Frankie Kazarian was never a draw. Never a draw. Never drew a dime. And, you know, you have Santana drop the title to Frankie Kazarian, only to have him drop the title on the first show back on a new network. I mean, it would have been much smarter if you had heavily promoted Mike Santana leading up to this show as the world champion and telling all the casual fans, hey, this is the guy that is going to take us to the future. This is the guy that we are going to build our promotion around, Mike Santana. And these people did not do it. Instead, they had Mike Santana win the title, drop the title after having a whole month hiatus off with no television, coming back, have Santana drop the title on the first Impact after Bound for Glory, only to wait a couple months until the AMC debut to have him to win the world title. I mean, talk about stupid creative, but that's just how it was. We had Elijah, a.k.a. Elias, and the Hardys defeating Mustafa Ali, Jason Hodge, and John Skyler, which was a pretty good opening match. Oh, first off, by the way, AJ Styles was on this show. I forgot to mention. Look, I will say, if there's any positives that I can say about this show, was the main event was pretty good. The opening match was pretty good, and the opening video package was really good. Aside from all of that, the show was crap. But the show opened with a video package, basically a whole Raw speech talking about TNA. TNA's whole history is basically built on video packages of Raw speeches. I mean, that's basically the entire history of TNA for you. But in this case, it makes total sense because, again, this is a company that has gone through a lot of trial and tribulation. AJ Styles comes out. He comes out and basically did nothing, kind of similar to his appearance at Slammiversary. He just kind of welcomed us to TNA Impact on AMC, and really, that was it. Do I think AJ Styles will make more appearances in TNA in the future in 2026? I genuinely believe yes. I think he will. And I even gave this hot take. I actually believe that he will win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship in 2026 as well. I may be totally wrong, but if that is the case, I'm here for it. Because again, this is AJ Styles' last year as a professional wrestler. Yes, he's going to be retiring in 2026. We do not know the exact date, but he is going to be retiring in 2026. We haven't had one match with AJ Styles in TNA, and he's already made 2 appearances in TNA. So I genuinely believe he's going to have a match in TNA. We just do not know when. And, you know, AJ did have a segment with Frankie Kazarian backstage, but Frankie Kazarian did drop the TNA title to Santana. But AJ Styles, aside from that, really didn't do anything. He didn't really do anything whatsoever. He just didn't. He did not do anything. Heather and basically Ash by Elegance defeated Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee. Honestly, this was a nothing match. Basically, Jessie McKay and Cassie Lee, I believe they're the former Iconics. They're on their way out of TNA. And keep in mind, before their AMC debut, TNA has had a lot of people leaving. They had Jake Something leave. The Rascals left. I mean, the Rascals got signed to AEW. There's been a little bit of a fiasco with Trey Miguel because Trey Miguel is also a part of the Rascals, but he got signed to AEW, but then immediately got released by AEW. And on Instagram, he stated that he's going to be taking time off of wrestling. So we will be talking about that later on. But essentially, the Rascals are signed to AEW. So AEW is basically signing a lot of ex-TNA guys. I mean, they've already signed Josh Alexander, and he was one of the top guys of TNA. So, I mean, that tells you a lot. But again, Jesse McKay and Cassie Lee, they left TNA, and Ash by Elegance are the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions. But the crazy thing about this match was the fact that if you were watching this show on AMC Plus or AMC, because I know some people were watching it on TNA Plus, some people were watching it on AMC. I watched it on AMC Plus. You missed the whole match. Why? Because there was a part roughly in the beginning of the match where TNA went to commercial break. Then they came back from commercial break only to go like maybe 10 seconds later back to commercial break. So you basically missed the whole match. Again, the production of the show was god awful. Another thing I forgot to mention was when they were showing the Hollywood Row, of the celebrities, which again, people that I have absolutely no idea who these people are. TNA had the goal to show a bunch of empty seats in the arena. They didn't even tarp it off. They just showed flat out all of the empty seats on the hard cam side. I swear to God, they even showed all of the streamers that were there, which God bless those streamers. But let's be honest with ourselves. They're not going to get me to watch TNA. They're not going to get me to watch TNA. I'm not here to watch TNA for the streamers. I'm here to watch TNA for the talent. Guys like Mike Santana. That's why I am watching TNA. Guys like Mike Santana. Those guys draw no interest from me, with all due respect. Okay, I'm better than those guys. No shade. No shade. You guys are great. But they showed all those streamers, but TNA had the goal to show their half-empty building. They literally showed a bunch of empty seats all over the place. And I'm like, AEW has their problems, and I tweeted this out. AEW has their problems, but they are leagues, and yes, I said it, leagues above TNA in terms of production. And I crap on AEW's production. I do. I crap on AEW's production value. And their production, if you really think about it, is great. But if you compare it to WWE's production is essentially UFC production. Because now they're under the same route, they're under the same group. You get my drift. But WWE production has always and forever will be the best professional wrestling promotion that masters the art of production. They are masters at it. They know. They are masters at the art of production. TNA is garbage, man. Like, AEW struggles to sell seats for their weekly television for a Dynamite and for a Collision. But at least AEW's able to, from a production standpoint, make the show look like it's sold out. TNA does not even try. TNA does not even try. TNA does not even try. And then the main event. Oh, actually, no, not even in the main event. We had a segment with Santino Marella, who is the authority figure for TNA, bringing out, a new authority figure. And this new authority figure is the former Sonya Deville. Yes, the former Sonya Deville. And I believe her name is Daria Ray. I believe. Yes. Daria Ray. Now, I'm going to say this right here and right now. I love Sonya Deville. I think she's great. And she was great in her role as the authority figure because she was the authority figure for WWE. She kind of she was with Adam Pearce as like the co-authority figures. And I think Adam Pearce is a great authority figure. And he has been an authority figure since, 2020, 2021? He's been great. He's been fantastic in his role. And we need to understand is that one thing that people need to understand is that TNA right now is living in the past in terms of authority figures. Because yes, WWE has authority figures on their television show, but they don't have authority figures that basically take over the bulk of the entire show. That's what they used to do back in the day. Ever since Vince McMahon was the heel authority figure during the Attitude Era, WWE has tried time and time and time again to replicate that heel authority figure, quote unquote, magic. They did it with Eric Bischoff. They did it with The Authority. They did it with Vicky Guerrero. They did it with so many people. They did it with John Laurinaitis. And it just they never matched the magic of the Vince McMahon heel authority figure back in the late 90s and early 2000s, especially, that first year in 98. They never really recaptured that magic. And WWE has constantly tried time and time again to recapture that magic. And they never did. So they just gave up, and they basically gave Adam Pearce that not heel authority figure, but just the generic authority figure that just appears and just makes the matches, and that's it. That makes him very similar to what William Regal was. Very similar to what William Regal was in TNA. William Regal was just an authority figure that just made the matches, and that was it. He wasn't a part of the show 24/7, 365. Like, he was just there, made the matches, did his job, and he's out of there. In this case, TNA is living in the past, and they have a heel authority figure in Daria Ray. Now, Daria Ray comes out, and nobody knew who she was until she walked out. When they when they showed the name Daria Ray on the Tron, I swear to God, there were crickets. I heard crickets. Nobody knew who she was until she came out. And even then, when she came out, people recognized her, but she didn't get a big reaction. TNA literally thought that she was going to get a big reaction. And I mean, no disrespect to Sonya Deville. Again, she's phenomenal. She's phenomenal in her role. And I'm definitely curious to see what she's going to do in the future. But I'm just judging this by the reaction that she got from the audience. Nobody knew who she was. And she turns heel and just berates Santino Marella. And after that, she brings out a new addition to the TNA Knockouts division. And it's, wait for it, Elena Black. Who the hell is Elena Black? Who the hell is Elena Black? Who the hell is Elena Black? Who the hell is she? It's Cora Jade. Crickets. You heard crickets. Nobody knew who the hell she was until she came out. And even when she came out, you heard crickets. You heard nobody. Cora Jade. Yes, Cora Jade. That Cora Jade. Yeah. Moving on. We had the main event. We had Mike Santana versus Frankie Kazarian for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Very good match. Not a bad match whatsoever. I actually relatively enjoyed the match. From the moment the bell rang, the crowd was invested. It was a good television-style main event. And they had Mike Santana, which was the right decision, Mike Santana win the TNA World title. If TNA had Mike Santana lose, me and a lot of other people would have been pissed. But they were actually smart and actually made a right decision for a change and had Mike Santana win the World Championship. Okay. Overall, how was TNA Impact as a show? The show as a whole was awful. The format was just bad. There was no real direction. There was no real motive to make you want to buy Genesis, which happened last night or 2 nights ago from you guys watching this video. And it really gave you no motive to tune in to next week. AEW, people complain, and me included, complain about AEW not knowing how to follow up on things. But on the other hand, I've always said this, AEW always knows how to make a good first impression. They always knew how to do that. And the best example that I can give you was the first episode of Dynamite. That first episode of Dynamite, October 1st or October 2nd, 2019, one of those days, October of 2019, I was hyped. The first match that we saw on that TNT show of AEW was Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara, a phenomenal opening match. That match basically showed you what AEW was all about. AEW is about where the best wrestle. Now, they didn't use that slogan, but that was essentially what AEW told you what it was. TNA has always been a company that has always been WWE light. This show basically not only felt WWE light, this show felt like it was NXT light. This show felt like it was NXT light. And not only that, again, TNA just didn't really make a good first impression. If you compare this first show on AMC compared to AEW's first show on TNT, it's like night and day. It's like night and day because the show ended, the AEW show back in 2019 ended with Chris Jericho forming his new faction, the Inner Circle. And it made you want to tune in next week like, oh my God, what is Chris Jericho up to? Oh my God, I'm excited. Ironically, yes, Chris Jericho made you excited back then in 2019 because he was just on another level. Nowadays, you know, when Chris Jericho in AEW, he was kind of a channel changer nowadays. In the past couple of years, he was kind of a channel changer. You know, since like 2023, 2024, he's been, you know, whenever you see Chris Jericho, you change the channel. But still, TNA did nothing to excite you for next week. Now, will I be watching TNA next week? Yes, because I'm very curious to see what TNA does. But in terms of the casual audience, and if there really is a casual audience for TNA because their audience is so niche, like AEW's audience is niche, but AEW's audience is niche, but if you compare AEW's niche audience to TNA's niche audience, TNA has a far smaller niche audience than AEW. At least AEW has a larger audience that has like 500,000 people watching on TBS and a couple thousand, not a lot, a couple thousand watching on HBO Max. But at least, you know, AEW has a audience. What audience does TNA really have? TNA really failed to really capture the attention of a lot of fans when they were watching this first show. This show was berated by a lot of people. And rightfully so, including people that were on the TNA bandwagon. Guys like Eric Bischoff, guys like Raj Giri. Eric Bischoff, who went on the Ariel Helwani show and specifically said that with the right leadership and the right approach, TNA is able to surpass AEW as the number 2 promotion in the United States. Eric Bischoff himself thought that this show was the drizzling shits. Yeah, I said it. He thought that this show itself was the drizzling shits. He did not like this show whatsoever. And I like Eric Bischoff, but that take was god awful. When he said that TNA could surpass AEW as the number 2 promotion, a lot of people said that. I don't know if they were grifting or they actually believed what they were saying. But some people actually said that and believed that was possibly going to happen. Meanwhile, they don't give you any facts. AEW has a much higher budget. They're able to sign free agents. And if you honestly believe that TNA is going to sign Chris Jericho, you must be out of your freaking mind. We don't even know where Chris Jericho is going. For all we know, he may return to AEW because he is still on the AEW roster page. That could all change once we head towards the Royal Rumble. I digress. But still, people actually thought that TNA was going to surpass AEW as the number 2 promotion in the United States. Why? Why do you think that? Because WWE is partnered with TNA? Is that the reason why? Is that the reason why? Because I guarantee you, that is the reason that they're going to give you. That is the reason that those types of people that believe that type of ideology will tell you. Oh, because WWE will help TNA. And look, they have helped TNA. Let's be honest with ourselves. I think they kind of helped TNA I think they helped TNA get this deal with AMC as well. I genuinely believe that. I genuinely believe they helped TNA get this television deal with AMC. Great. Another place for guys to work. TNA, and the only benefit that TNA has is that it is another promotion that is on national television, that is a place for guys to go and find work. We now have 3 promotions that are on national television in the United States. We have WWE, that is on Netflix, the CW, and USA Network. We got AEW, which is on the Turner Networks on TBS, TNT, and HBO Max. And now we got TNA on AMC, which is a relatively smaller network compared to TNT, TBS, USA Network. But it's still a relatively known network with the shows that they produce, like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad. You get my drift. And now TNA is on that network. And also, people need to understand that TNA has been a promotion that has had advantage after advantage after advantage after advantage. You don't believe me? They had a television deal with Spike TV, and they still crapped the bed. It got so bad to the point where they lied to their own network. They went head-to-head on Monday nights with all the stars. Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Rob Van Dam, Sting, everybody. All the legends you can think of. Hell, add the Nasty Boys on there, even though I could care less about the Nasty Boys. They went head-to-head against WWE, and they got destroyed. Why? Because of one word. One word. Incompetence. And TNA, making their debut on AMC, they were incompetent. TNA was incompetent. They were incompetent. They were. And they failed to grab the attention of all the fans that were wondering, hey, what was all the fuss about TNA? Why is everybody talking about TNA? They failed to grab that fan attention. They failed. They failed miserably. Now, again, this is only the first week. Things could change next week. Things could change the week after. Again, it's the first show. But still, with the first show, you need to make a good first impression. And TNA failed to make that good first impression. They did. Like they always do. They fail at everything. This company has always had a track record of not making a good first impression. That's essentially the history of TNA for you. LOL TNA is not just a catchphrase. LOL TNA is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle to this company. And it will forever be a lifestyle to this company. And I wouldn't be surprised if WWE ended up buying TNA in a couple years. Because you know these WWE partnerships, for all we can gloat about WWE, or for all we can gloat about TNA and, you know, the successes that they've been having recently and the partnership has been benefiting TNA, let's be honest, these partnerships are always one-sided with you when you're with WWE. Because it's always going to end up, you know, it's always going to end up in one promotion buying out the other. And that's going to be, unfortunately, WWE purchasing TNA in a couple years. Mark my words. Mark my words. I said this January 19th, 2026. WWE in a couple years will buy TNA Wrestling in a couple years. They will. People might laugh at me now, but then they'll come back to this very video. And then you'll be like, damn, Ricky, you've been telling the truth this whole time. What do you think? I'm not stupid. But that's the history of TNA for you. This show on AMC was a freaking disaster. Disaster on all levels. Not a good first impression. Genesis took place last or 2 nights ago. And I didn't watch the show, but I'll give you guys the results. Basically, Tessa Blanchard and Mila Moore defeated Vicious Vicky, Venuto, and Indy Hartwell. AJ Francis defeated Rich Swann. Mustafa Ali defeated Elijah. JDC took on Eddie Edwards, and this was JDC's last match. Of course, JDC, the former Fandango. Ryan Namath defeated Mara Sade. The Knockouts title was on the line as Lei Ying Lee defeated Zarya from NXT. The Hardys defeated The Righteous to retain the TNA tag titles. Leon Slater, who was supposed to be on this show, basically sent a message via video because, of course, he was dealing with visa issues and he was overseas. He actually made an appearance on SmackDown, and he actually apologized missing the event, and he promised to give Cedric Alexander and Moose a shot at his TNA X Division title shot. Joe Hendry defeated Cedric Alexander and Moose in a nothing triple threat match. And Mike Santana defeated Frankie Kazarian in the Texas Death Match and retained the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Okay, that was Genesis. I did not watch the show. If you get mad at me, I don't care. Again, this show really just didn't pique my interest at all. I didn't even know the card until the AMC debut, so it's not really my fault. But again, I didn't really care about what was going on at Genesis. But that was Genesis for you guys.